Hello, friends. I'm glad to see you here, where together we seek simple and kind ways to live lighter and more joyful lives. Tell me, have you ever had that feeling, as if you're constantly juggling other people's requests, expectations, and moods, while your own desires and needs are somewhere in the background, quietly gathering dust like a beloved book forgotten in the attic? It's that state where you become so convenient for everyone around you that, without noticing, you lose a piece of your soul. This isn't just fatigue, it's a profound exhaustion when your inner energy, like water slipping through your fingers, leaks away to service others' musts and wants. The habit of always saying yes, the desire to please, the fear of offending someone, all of this, like a sweet poison, slowly but surely poisons your joy, your life force. But I promise you, if you recognize yourself in these signs and apply the simple tips we'll talk about, you'll feel a lightness return, as if an invisible but very heavy burden has fallen from your shoulders. It doesn't require titanic efforts, just a little attention to yourself. So stay with me, and let's figure out together how to get yourself back. The automatic yes to any request. The first and perhaps most obvious sign is when your yes slips off your tongue before you even have time to think if you need it, if you have the strength and time for it. You replace this automatic yes with a conscious pause and the option to say no or I need to think about it. I remember Eleanor. She was 72. She was the life of the party, always ready to help. Bake pies for the church fair, babysit the neighbor's grandchildren, give a friend a ride to the other side of town. Her house was like a revolving door, and her phone never stopped ringing. "My dear," she told me, "I feel like a squeezed lemon by the end of the day. I don't even have energy for my favorite TV show." She genuinely wanted to be helpful, but her yes had become a reflex, almost a tick. Inside, a dull irritation grew, mixed with guilt if she ever had to refuse. She was afraid people would stop loving her, stop thinking of her as a good person. Can you imagine what a burden that is? It's like carrying an incredibly heavy backpack, stuffed with others' expectations, which gets heavier and harder to lift with each passing year. We started small, instead of an instant. "Of course, I'll help," she started saying. "Let me check my planner. I'll let you know a bit later." You can't imagine what a revelation that was for her. That little delay gave her time to weigh whether she really wanted to and could do it. Gradually, she learned to say a soft but firm no when necessary. And you know what? The world didn't end. On the contrary, she had more energy, more time for herself, for her beloved roses in the garden, which used to be overgrown with weeds. Her relationships with loved ones even became warmer because her help became sincere, not forced. It was as if she had thrown off that invisible backpack and straightened her shoulders. So, if you catch yourself automatically saying yes, try taking that life-saving pause. It's the first step to reclaiming your energy. Apologizing for any reason and none. The second warning bell is when you're constantly apologizing. Apologizing for asking for help, for expressing your opinion, even for someone bumping into you at the store. You replace these unnecessary apologies with a calm and confident expression of your thoughts and needs. Meet Arthur. He was 68, an incredibly kind and intelligent man, but every other word he spoke was sorry. "Sorry, could you pass the salt?" "Sorry to take up your time." "Oh, sorry." I stood awkwardly. He said he felt like he was constantly bothering everyone, like he was taking up someone else's space. It started in childhood, when his strict parents demanded impeccable behavior. And so, this habit of apologizing for his very existence had eaten into him like rust. Imagine what it's like to live with the feeling that you're always at fault. It's like walking in shoes 2 sizes too small. Every step causes discomfort, and you no longer notice the beauty around you. We worked on him tracking these automatic sorries. Instead of, "Sorry? Could you speak a little louder?" He learned to say, "I didn't quite hear that. Please repeat it." At first, he felt terribly awkward, like he was being rude. But gradually, he noticed that people reacted perfectly normally, and he himself began to feel more confident. His voice became firmer, his shoulders straightened. It was as if he had taken off those tight shoes and, for the first time in years, walked through life easily and freely. He even started to be more respected at the Veterans Club meetings because he stopped mumbling and began to clearly state his thoughts. Stop apologizing for being you. You have the right to your opinion, your needs, your space. Others' needs are always more important than your own. The third sign is when you invariably put the needs of everyone around you, children, grandchildren, friends, neighbors, above your own. You cancel a doctor's appointment because your granddaughter needs help with homework, or you skip your favorite interest group because a friend is lonely. You replace this self-sacrifice with a reasonable balance and prioritizing self-care. Margaret, 75, was a classic example. Her entire life was dedicated to serving others. First her husband and children, then her grandchildren. She was the glue that held the whole family together. "I love them all so much," she'd say. "But sometimes I feel like an old, worn-out machine that's about to break down." Her own hobbies, her health, all of it was pushed to the back burner, or even further. She would forget to take her medication because she was busy with other people's problems. Remember the instructions on an airplane? Put on your own oxygen mask first, then help the child. Because if something happens to you, you won't be able to help anyone. Margaret started small, dedicating 1 hour a day just for herself. During this hour, she would read, walk in the park, or simply sit in silence with a cup of tea. At first, she was plagued by guilt, feeling like she was being selfish. But then she noticed that after this, her hour, she had more energy and patience for her loved ones. She became calmer, more benevolent. Her internal battery began to recharge. It's like a caring gardener who first fertilizes and waters the soil so that everything around can then bloom and bear fruit. Her family, by the way, noticed it too. "Grandma, you've become so cheerful," her granddaughter told her one day. Remember, self-care is not selfishness. It's a necessity so that you have the strength to give warmth and care to others. Panic fear of conflicts and disagreements. The fourth sign is when you're ready to agree to anything just to avoid an argument or confrontation. You keep quiet when you don't like something. You give in even if it contradicts your interests or values, just to keep the peace. You replace avoiding conflicts with the ability to calmly and respectfully assert your boundaries. David, he was 70, was a true peacemaker. Any hint of disagreement caused him almost panic. He'd say, "I'd rather keep quiet or agree than argue." I hate those awkward moments, that tension in the air. As a result, he often felt used and misunderstood. For example, his adult children might decide on a family vacation without considering his wishes at all, and he would nod and smile, though inwardly he was seething with resentment. Imagine a dam holding back a huge mass of water. That's how David held back his true feelings, his disagreement. But water will sooner or later find a way out. Either it will burst the dam in a destructive flood, in the form of a sudden breakdown or illness, or it will slowly undermine it from within, causing constant tension and anxiety. We started with him learning to express his opinion in a safe environment, for example, with me or a close friend. He practiced saying, "I understand your point of view, but I see it a little differently," or "I'd like to discuss this further." He was scared, his voice trembled. But when he saw that his opinion was heard, that the world didn't turn upside down because of his disagreement, he felt immense relief. That dam began to slowly release water, the tension eased. He was even able to calmly discuss his preferences for the next vacation with his children, and miraculously, he was heard. Remember that true harmony is built on mutual respect and honesty, not on sweeping problems under the rug. Your voice matters. Worry as if they were my problems. I feel completely shattered. She was like an open vessel into which everyone could pour their anxieties and sorrows, and then this vessel would overflow, leaving Susan depleted and exhausted. It's like trying to bail out the ocean with a teaspoon, pointless and exhausting. We worked with her on techniques of emotional grounding and protection. She learned to imagine herself surrounded by a soft but strong cocoon of light that lets in love and compassion, but filters out others' pain and negativity. She learned to tell herself, "These are his feelings, not mine. I can sympathize, support, but I don't have to live through this for them." At first, it seemed selfish to her, as she was used to completely dissolving in others' experiences. But gradually, she realized that by preserving her inner resources, she could be much more effective support for her loved ones. She got sick less often, her sleep improved. She learned to be there for others without destroying herself. You can empathize deeply without shouldering the unbearable burden of others' emotions. Protect your inner space. Forgotten hobbies and lost connection with yourself. And finally, the sixth sign. You notice that you've long abandoned what once brought you joy. that your own interests and hobbies have receded to the very distant background. Your life revolves around others, and you've almost forgotten about yourself. You replace this loss of self with a conscious return to your sources of joy and inspiration. George, he was 73, once loved building model ships. He had a whole collection of tools, blueprints. But then his grandchildren were born, dacha chores appeared, and his little workshop in the garage became covered in dust. Somehow there's never time, he'd sigh. And who needs it now anyway? He felt a vague longing, a feeling that something important was missing from his life. His days were scheduled to the minute: drive his wife to the shops, help his son with repairs, walk the dog. These were all necessary and important things, but they lacked his personal, cherished joy. Imagine a beautiful garden that once bloomed and smelled fragrant, and then it was abandoned and became overgrown with weeds. That's how George's soul longed for its garden. His daughter, noticing this, gave him a new model sailboat kit for his birthday. At first, he demurred, saying his eyesight wasn't what it used to be, and his hands trembled. But then, left alone, he unpacked the box and was lost for several hours. The smell of wood, the touch of small parts, the focused work, all this brought back a forgotten feeling of deep satisfaction. It was as if he had met an old good friend, himself. That little model ship became an anchor for him, returning him to himself. He began to find time for his hobby again, and a sparkle appeared in his eyes that no one had seen for a long time. It's not selfish or callous people, not at all. It's about healthy boundaries, self-respect, the right to your own feelings and desires. You have lived a long, rich life. You have accumulated invaluable experience and wisdom. And this wisdom tells you when something is wrong, when you are losing yourself for the sake of others. You deserve to feel not just convenient for those around you, but truly happy, fulfilled, and free. Don't be afraid of these changes. Small steps, taken with love and attention to yourself, can lead to amazing results. Remember how much you've already overcome in life. You have all the necessary strength and wisdom to reclaim your joy and lightness of being. You deserve this. Start today. Take at least one small step towards yourself, and you will see how the world around you also begins to change for the better.